Okay, so today is the first official tee-off of the 54th annual general meetings of the African Development Bank Group in Malabo, the Equatorial Guinea's capital. Temple Ashaju, our business correspondent, spent more than a day flying through from Lagos all the way through Addis Ababa and finally landing in Malabo. Quite a very cool and very painful way of traveling across the continent. And Equatorial Guinea is just in West Africa here, but it took him more than a day to get there. Temple Ashaju has not too pleasant story about his travel, but his live to us via Skype. He's on the ground this morning. Temple, good morning.
Good morning, Bossing. Good to join you again on the show.
Yes, it looks like you've had a very turbulent journey all the way from Lagos to Malabo, when perhaps if you've gone by road, perhaps you'll have gotten there much earlier than you did.
Correct, Bosin. It's really it wasn't a very pleasant experience. I tell you, Bosin. I mean, the fact that you had to go all the way to Addis Ababa first, before you then take some almost 5 hour trip down here to Malabo. I mean, it's really crazy. But I mean, look at the fact that you can actually move all the way from Lagos, get here to Malabo in just 2.5 hours. That's something that we should actually be addressing, which is why this meeting is actually being put together. Just this morning, I was briefed about how you could actually move from Port Harcourt to Malabo in just 45 minutes if you have to go by road. It's also very possible for you to actually even move, from Cameroon to Malabo by road and get there in just 2.5 hours. Ditto for Calabar to Malabo in less than 2 hours or thereabouts. So this is what the meeting is focusing on, looking to see how all the government officials, policymakers, thought leaders, business owners, magnates, all attending this meeting can put heads together and see
It's
how
about
they can come up.
yes, regional integration.
Exactly,
Yes,
Bosin.
regional integration, because we are just not integrated. Well, let's just be honest here. We're not integrated. We've got the francophone speaking West Africa, the English speaking, the anglophone. Then you had the lusophone. So you have a whole bunch of foreign countries all parading themselves on the African continent to the West Coast. And it's very difficult to even talk to each other, trade with each other, fly into each other's capital, just because we're just so diverse. So this few days in Malabo will be about how do we get regional cooperation, regional integration in terms of language, in terms of market, in terms of trade, in terms of business. Tempo, you'll be listening to a lot of this from today.
You're correct, Bosin. Thanks for setting the context there. That's what this will be looking at. I mean, that's how the AfDB, the Africa Development Bank, has brought all these folks together to see how they can then put resources together and link up Africa. Because as he said, it looks more like we've been operating in silos all along. And then why do we need to continue to operate in silos when we know that Africa has the largest opportunity when it comes to trade integration, when you even go ahead to compare to what you have in other climes. So that is what this meeting is looking at, to see how all of these business owners from different regions in West Africa, in Africa at large, can then come together and see the possibility of harnessing the opportunities that lies, between neighboring countries, and then tap into it, actualize all of these, and then it becomes something really positive for Africa as a continent. If we go by a road, there's so much we can actually achieve. And that is what the AfDB is trying to also fund. Over the years, I know the AfDB has actually funded trades and funded a lot of these things to the tune of some $15 billion or thereabouts. And I know that this also remains a major part of the five eyes. So that the AfDB, has actually been putting together to see how Africa can basically be integrated for good.
Yes, Tempo. I wish I could recommend that your return journey is by road, but I'm not too sure how that will be. So don't take my advice for it. Check if it is safe and all of that to come back by road to Lagos from Malabo. Perhaps when you're landing, you'll be landing somewhere in Calabar or Port Harcourt, not in Lagos. Then you need another flight or whatever to get to Lagos.
Or even the airport, which is going to be some 45 minutes move eventually. That's something that the AfDB is considering here, and that will happen in the next
enjoy the party, enjoy the road. I wish I'm in your shoes. Okay, enjoy the tourism potentials of West Africa. Thank you, Temple. Keep us in the loop as the week gets by at the AfDB 54th annual meetings in Malabo, Equatorial Guinea. So, Godwin Emefiele, the head of the central bank, is getting set anytime between Thursday and Friday to deliver his the next 5-year second term roadmap. And he's been harvesting ideas on what should be the roadmap for this monetary policy under his tenure for the next 5 years ending 2024. One of those who were at the weekend's meeting, fiscal policy officers, was the new governor of Lagos State, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, who spoke his mind about not just the broader economy, brought in some global perspectives, and of course, spoke about his own state, Lagos. What will be new under his administration? That's part of what he told the audience, which includes the governor of the central bank and other big business leaders. Take a listen.
Of course, Lagos contributes about 30% to the GDP in terms of where we are as a country, and it said that it's about the 5th or 6th largest economy in Africa. And since the private sector is the driving force for that growth, it is crucial that we'll ensure that we effectively engage the private sector in discussions that border around economic growth, policy design, and execution. Nigeria has had its own fair share of economic challenges, and of course, the CBN governor has explained all of those policies and all of those challenges in the last 5-6 years. The deliberation today, in my view, would take us forward and will be used to determine how effective we manage our economic challenges and all of the issues that will come out going forward. It will affect how best we position ourselves, particularly given the fact that economic power is shifting globally from the traditional economics to new emerging powerhouses in both Africa and Asia. We know what Ethiopia is doing. They're doing double digit. There was a gentleman from Ethiopia the other day, and year on year, they're doing double digit GDP growth. Rwanda, everybody wants to go there and find out what they're doing on anti-corruption, on a lot of things, on health, education, innovation. Kenya is also there. So Microsoft was here the other day. Half of what they need to bring to West Africa, they take half of it to Kenya as well. And so you can begin to see where those conversations are. In this vein, it is therefore becomes imperative that we invest more in priority areas, especially health, education, and infrastructure. And I'm sure that's why I'm standing in front, and I'll talk about that very shortly. On our part, we're looking to modernize essential services that will strive for maximum efficiency across our public sector areas. We're going to do this to ensure that we can boost our local economy so that it becomes increasingly competitive, it's innovative, and technologically driven. And we're hoping that it will strive to provide an extra revenue that is required for us to reach the next level of growth and prosperity for our people. And I did mention, I quickly understand the importance that Lagos plays in the economy of this country, as in we contribute about 30 to 35% to the national GDP. So Lagos, when it says it sneezes, the whole nation catches cold. It is incumbent, therefore, that will ensure that the economic engine is well oiled and is running at its maximum production to create that economic momentum for the rest of the country to take it to. In other words, to unleash the potential of Lagos, it's by no means important for all of us in this room. It will enable all of us to bring about new developments, to flourish and attract enough new economics in areas that we believe that we can begin to remain competitive globally and looking at all of the economic flows of FDIs. Without a conducive economic or environment for the growth and what we populate in Lagos, the nation will continue just to struggle. In particular, with the ongoing international trade conflicts between China and America, between Europe and the UK, Brexit and all of it, I think it also gives us an opportunity as Nigeria, right, to capitalize on all of these things and see how international demand for raw materials, for finished goods, and all of it can begin to come out from Africa and Nigeria in particular. To support these initiatives, we're focused on two key areas. The CBN, in our view, must stay vigilant to ensure that we drastically support export growth by carefully managing monetary policy such that the Naira remains stable and competitive. And during this unique international trade, we must promote key projects that will give us the best chance for our currency stability. An example is what we see in Dangote, the Dangote projects to develop one of the largest refinery in the world. And we believe that the need for fuel importation and all of that will certainly reduce. It is true, and is a real testament that it is possible for the private enterprise, if they have the right economic growth and incentives, for them to do much more than what they're doing today. The CBN can play its part to also ensure that we build best-in-class national infrastructure that support the movement of raw materials and finished goods, and which we believe will give Lagos and the rest of the nation the best opportunity to meet international demands in the most efficient manner. In Lagos, it has become very clear that we must rebuild the fundamental pillars of development, and we invite industry leaders across the nation to join us in this journey. On the campaign trail, we have promised to look and improve on what we call project teams: public transportation and traffic management, health and environment. On health, looking more at the primary health institutions, doing more preventive than curative. On environment, how do we clean up all our slummed areas, our blighted areas, remove drainage issues. Lagos will flood once in a while because it's below the sea level, but once it floods in 3-4 hours, how do we get the water to recede very quickly? Education and technology, early education is critical to us. How do we trap and ensure that kids that are starting school between ages 2 or 3 to age 8, get the right foundation, educationally, how do we push tablets in those schools, the physical infrastructure in those environments, and also the learning environment for the teachers themselves, because we believe that it's only when the teachers are well-trained and equipped to do the work that they can love those kids. I mean, if you see a teacher that you're just giving everything to the pupils, and you've given bags and all of it, so what happens to the teacher? Once you leave, the teacher has nothing. So they need to be motivated, they need to be empowered so that they love those kids at that time. They're not 14, 15-year-old. These are 5, 6-year-old that needs to show love so that they can increase and improve their learning capabilities. Technology, it's a way to go. It's something that all of us must do. We in Lagos very, very quickly must be able to mesh the whole city where we can have global connectivity, to do a lot of things in health, in education. So it's a no-brainer. It's no longer something innovative that you are doing, fiber and all of it. We certainly must very quickly be able to close up, on those transactions and get all of the telcos to do 4,000 kilometers of fiber everywhere so that we can do plug and play on CCTV cameras, on our health facilities, on our schools, so that we can improve access and we can improve capabilities. Making Lagos a 21st century economy, it's really to ensure that power is available everywhere and to everybody. I'm thankful that some of the power providers are here. We're going to fight them really, really hard. We want to be their friends, but we've said that if they are not going to be able to give power to our people, we will continue to fight. And I've told Dere privately and publicly, we're saying it again, let us ensure that people can get the power, and we need to do it. It's a technology that is on the shelf. So how do we get, meters to the tenements, and because they will pay, and that's some of the things we're saying. How do we ensure? I've asked people have told me that we can do affordable housing. So I'm still asking people to come up with innovative means of building affordable housing, for us. Right, and so we've gotten a lot of ideas, but we still need to populate it and be able to tell us where, we can get the least cost and best efficiencies in terms of housing. And those are some of the things we're looking at to be able to build a 21st century economy. Entertainment and tourism, that's an area where we believe we can set the pace for the whole nation. Like I said, the CBN and the Bankers Committee are working with us to develop that global print to help that sector. There's a lot of energy there. There's a lot of population. We can push a lot of employment in that sector if we give them the right skill to do well. And not only will they be exporting all of those things, they will make us look good, You know, we don't need to pay all of the money to CNN talking about our tourism, because there will be the conversations ensuring that some of our destinations become a tourist place where people calendarize and know that in 2 weeks' time, I need to go to a part of Nigeria, you know, Lagos, Badagry, whatever it is. So as a government, we're building capacities in those areas, and we need the private sector to also help us develop, you know, the market there. And we cannot do all of these things without having security, you know, making a major growth plan in our development. So we said security and governance, the last S we have in our team. You know, just yesterday, the president of the Federation, the president of Nigeria, we held a meeting with all the governors, and it's all about security. I certainly cannot begin to talk about what was discussed here, but I can say to you that everybody is a concern. And we've said to ourselves, we need to tackle it, you know, with all of the energies that we have, because part of our responsibility is to ensure that security of life and property is not just expected. It's something that we must deliver, you know, as head of government in the various states. And governance is to also continue not just to talk about transparency, you know, and accountability. Let it be a way of life, you know, in your own government, so that people can truly, really see what you stand for and where you stand in all of these things. So we've pushed it as part of our economic policies that will be driving. And so that forms our 6 pillars, which will be asking you and begging you to monitor with us, to try us on, and to ensure that we're delivering on all of it. But we cannot do it alone. That's why we need all of you in this room to partner and to join us. We must do a better job of harnessing the technology available to us. Our friends in East Africa have shared numerous success stories in transforming their economics by focusing on financial inclusion, and have become a global beacon for financial technology. We must investigate deeply why this same success hasn't traveled to our nation. Banks and other stakeholders must embrace change that is ahead of them before they are left behind in a rapidly transforming landscape. Let us not be afraid to experiment, and let us not be afraid to realize when we have made mistakes and the need to quickly course correct for the benefit of our people, particularly for those who operate within the informal sector. Fintech, blockchain, technology, machine learning are available, you know, for us, and we must leapfrog as a nation and as a state for us to do a lot of catch-up. Finally, may I also offer my sincerity in pursuing active participation from all of you that are market leaders here today for our great nation. Far too often in our history, government at all levels have attracted silos and have not taken advantage of the intellectual base that is available to make prudent stride forward to achieve our economic potential. And I think we certainly need to commend CBN, this day, and all of the people that have joined to put this very unique discussions this morning forward. And I want to also say that I do agree with the CBN governor in ensuring that, you know, all of the things we make up should not just be the elitist. You know, he has a responsibility, like I said, that, you know, that poor woman that, you know, all she's asking for is the 10, 20,000 to improve, you know, whatever it is she's doing today. And for us as public office holders, that's some of the things that we need to see how we can redistribute this.
That's the Lagos State Governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, talking about some of the things you want to see done in Lagos and that partnership or cooperation with the Central Bank of Nigeria. That's part of the Emefiele's Business Leaders Meet at the weekend. So one of the big stories here taking place in London as we speak is Bolt, the car hill riding operator, is now returning to London in pursuit of his arch rival, Uber. So that's part of the story out of the City of London today. Let's put some global perspectives into what will also be part of the story here. So Juliana Olayinka, one of our correspondents, the City of London, is live to us from the studios. Juliana, are you bolting in pursuit of Uber? What do you ride here? And who's riding what?
Well, when I'm in Lagos, Bosun, it's definitely Bolt. But of course, Uber has the monopoly just about. Uber's 7-year stretch as being London's only major car-hailing app, as you said, has come to an end. Estonia-based Bolt, which was formerly known as Taxify, has officially launched in London today, and the app already has 20,000 registered drivers. Now, Bolt have posed a threat to Uber in other markets, like I said, Nigeria being one of them, with Bolt challenging its dominant position in Europe by charging drivers much less to use its platform. Of course, many of our viewers will be familiar with the app already. Both apps, though, have been plagued with several troubles in London. Bolt previously launched here under the name Taxify in September 2017, but was banned by Transport for London because it didn't have a license. Uber was also banned in that same year after it's found to not be fit and proper operator, but the car-hailing app won back a 15-month license after a court battle. Now, this is an interesting time for Uber, Bosom. Their revenue growth has stalled over the past year as they've had heightened competition, not just in car hailing, but also in their food delivery. And that's increased. They've had to increase their discounts and driver incentives, and that's dented its ability to raise their profile. And there are questions from investors during its disappointing initial public offering last year. But nevertheless, for now at least, they're still holding on to that huge monopoly.
Okay, Juliana, you got to advise me when next time in London whether to go for Uber or Bolt, the rival. Whichever way to go, you give me the best advice when I'm in the city. Thank you so much. Stand by for our afternoon show. Bring us up to speed. Who is having the fastest ride and making money on that? Juliana Olayinka, business correspondent out of our studios in London. Take a break, everyone. We'll be right back on Market Street, right here.